Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 109 of Horrible Writing. We need to get into the topic because the topic is very important today. How to increase your word count and probably why you want to. Let's do this. That will never work. You can't push that. Seriously? Don't. Oh my God, that's really that's bad. You probably should find other hobbies. You ever learn how to stop? Stop. Be happy. Quit while you're done. Don't bother me. I've seen better. Do you really want to? And get up. Welcome to Horrible Writing, the rawest, most candid, in-your-face writing show on the interwebs because none of us have time to suck. Let's do this. I want to stop right at the beginning and welcome all the For the Words people who are here listening to this episode today as part of their special scavenger hunt for the month. I think the idea is cool, and I'll actually talk about it later in the show. And you have a certain code word you're looking for. Well, you're going to get that. I'm just not going to tell you when because we got things to talk about today. This show, the tagline has always been empowerment through candor. I believe in lifting other writers up, but only doing so by being real with them. I can't be pretentious. I don't sell enough to be pretentious. I can't be fake. I can't give you platitudes. I don't believe in platitudes telling people everything will be okay when you probably won't be okay if you don't do the work that you need to do. I'm real with everybody in the Horrible Writing Writer Support Group on Facebook. If you're not there, come over and join us. It's an incredible community. We're real about blurbs. We're real about book covers. And that's what this is all about. That's the only way that we can truly support each other through positive encouragement, lifting each other up, but being real. And that's what this podcast is about. So I know many of you will be first-time listeners tripping across this show because you're part of the For the Words contest. I hope you stick around after this episode and maybe even go check out the back catalog because there's a lot of great content for new and old writers in there. This episode is all about word count, and I know those of you who have been longtime listeners, you might be less than excited that I'm talking about this because I do work it into regular episodes, but it's very important, and we don't know when people will trip across episodes or the show itself. Word count is important. Now, I know there's a lot of writers out there who say, I don't keep track of that, and that's okay if that works for them and if they're meeting all of their writing goals. But if they aren't, then I challenge them to think about that because it could be a defense mechanism. For those of you who are newer listeners, I talk about mindset a lot. How you think about things will direct your course of behaviors, thus your actions, thus the outcomes. And if people aren't meeting their writing goals, but they say things like, word count's not important, I don't track it, there's a reason why. And they're using that as a defense mechanism to stop them from having to face the reality that they're not doing what they need to be doing for their writing. Or what they believe are their goals truly aren't their goals. So it's important. Setting word count goals daily, weekly, monthly, annually is a great mechanism, a tip, tool, and tactic to employ to ensure that you're reaching your goals. Now, I'm assuming that all of you have sat down and you know your writing goals for the year. It's October 2019. We are coming up on 2020 in 2 months. It gives you 2 months to figure out your word goal count for that year. What did you do last year? You don't know? Why? Because you haven't tracked it. Start tracking every single day. There's a small little spreadsheet you can develop. I'll share it on the Horrible Writing Support Group on Facebook. If you want to go over there, join us. After this episode goes to air, I'll post mine out there so you can see what it looks like. But tracking daily accomplishments over time helps you track what you're accomplishing. It's about accountability, putting the important things first. Now, people say they do, but then they talk about how they're not a morning person. They like their sleep. They've got babies. They've got a job. They're exhausted when they get home. Yada, yada, yada. And I don't say that to beat people down, but empowerment through candor, those are just excuses. Everybody has the same amount of time in a day. It's just what we prioritize and how we prioritize that makes the difference. So by setting yourself a goal and tracking it daily, you've got a daily reminder of your progress and how you're doing with meeting that goal. It helps counteract those life excuses like we had a busy day at the job or a busy week or a busy month. Well, if you're going to hit your annual word count goal, then you need to sacrifice some off time, some Saturdays and Sundays maybe. You maybe need to get up a little earlier. You maybe need to dictate on your way into work, right? These are things you can do if you know where you are. How can you know where you're going if you don't know what the destination is? Word count goals help you do that, help you see that. It also sets a pattern of behavior. Now, a lot of my listeners who've been around for a long time know that I'm a behaviorist in a past life. Still have a lot of that still hanging around me. And folks, the fact is that when you do something day in and day out for at least 30 days straight, you start to set a pattern of behavior. Now, if you stop on day 31, you're probably going to fall back pretty quickly. It's a learned behavior. Those things that you do in your life, whatever it is, smoke, bite your nails, bounce your foot when you're nervous, whatever these things are, not only coping mechanisms, but they're learned behaviors. And if it's a destructive behavior, you have to unlearn it. And the general theory is that it takes twice as long to unlearn a behavior as it did to learn it. So, tracking your daily word count, and I challenge people to do it for 30 days. Do it for a month to start out and see what difference that makes in your life. I've had people tell me before they don't do it, and then a year later, I'm watching them post about how they've written every day for 2 months straight. They've never done that in their lives. It works if you have that discipline and drive to do it. Another reason you want to do it is the fact is tracking your word count, setting that goal, adjusting the goal as necessary. Do not cheat. Try to hit that annual goal. You never change it. Monthly, don't change any of these goals. If you don't meet it, you don't meet it. Do better next day, next week, next month, right? Don't change the goals. But the fact is that those of you who are driven to do this may be the tip, tool, and tactic that helps you start producing what you need to produce for your writing to help you reach those goals that you have. You don't get published by sitting at a computer and staring at the screen. You have to put those keys into action. So by tracking your daily word count, you start to see progress. It flips that psychological switch. It's a very positive thing. If you're fair to yourself, it's a very positive thing to see, and you feel very quickly yourself gaining momentum. Now, there are people who would choose, because it's all about mindset, they would choose to see the negative. Oh, I failed to meet my words every single day this week. Well, maybe you had something going on. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you were just lazy. The only thing you can do at that point is look that person in the mirror and say, hey, you screwed up this week. That was bullcrap. You said writing was important, but you played video games, or you slept, or you watched movies, binged Netflix, whatever it is. Then it's that accountability that I spoke of earlier. But the nice thing is, for the people with the right mindset who start changing their behaviors, who make this part of their core daily tasks, their routine, just like waking up and brushing your teeth, going to bed, brushing your teeth before you go to bed, right? Those are behaviors that you had to be taught. None of us were born to know that we brush our teeth for good dental hygiene. We had to be taught that, a learned behavior. And now we do it, and it's second nature. You know, before you lay down, you got a toothbrush in your mouth. After you eat in the morning, you've got a toothbrush in your mouth, right? These are the things that we've learned to do because it's good for us. Over time, if you track your daily word count, you will get there with this too. And it will drive you on. It will make you write in the days you don't want to write, even if it's something small. For those of you who are new, I have an old episode called 100 Word Count Day, where I talk about how it's okay to have a day where you only write 100 words. It takes 3 minutes to do. I believe in having a 0 word count day. Never a day goes by that I don't write something. A story idea, part of a book, a chapter, an outline, a blog, something is being written every single day. And there are days when I'm on vacation or I need to get up to Seattle and I've got to beat traffic and I've got to go now. Well, I get in as many words as I can, even if that means I start writing 15 minutes earlier than normal, just to write 50 words and go. But doing this daily, you will see, I am convinced. I've been doing it for 4 years straight. I've never missed a word day in 4 years. And I believe the same thing for you if you do it. Additionally, you want to be a better writer? Guess how you become a better writer? Besides reading a lot of your genre or the genres you want to write and reading from people who are proven successes, not just all the self-help writing books out there, but that stuff aside, it's great to read, but it's just like researching how to run a marathon. It only gets you so far. And at some point you have to strap the sneakers on and hit the pavement. Well, here's your pavement. It's right in front of you at your computer. You have to get the words down. 10,000 hours to master a skill. How many hours of your life have you been writing? Actually, actively writing? Is it 10,000? Now, if you're being honest, no, it's not. Right? That's just to start mastering a skill. General theory is go Google it. But that's what establishing that daily word count can help you start doing. Getting your butt in that seat and getting those words to come out. And the only way to get better at something is to do it. Now, here's the thing about goal attainment that I don't know if a lot of people understand. It's not just about chest thumping and saying, hey, I did something, which in itself is great because it's positive reinforcement. It can, for those of you who aren't yet parents, you will learn very quickly that positive reinforcement of behaviors you want to see, if you positively reinforce the things that are done by your future children, are much more effective than negative consequences. If you don't want Jimmy jumping off the deck, sitting him on the couch and grilling him for an hour isn't going to change his behavior as quickly as giving him positive reinforcement for not doing it. Show them, lead them toward where you want them to go, not away from what you don't want them to do type of mentality. But when it comes to the goal attainment, it's not just about that, though that is an aspect, because that plays into a greater theme of sustainability. Folks, especially new writers, this is going to be tough. This is going to be hard. There are going to be days where you don't want to do it anymore because nobody's listening, nobody cares, nobody responds. Every writer goes through that. And one of the things that's going to help you carry through those dark times, those inevitable dark times, is that drive. You owe it to yourself. You are accountable to you to get that word count in, to work on that story a little bit today. You'll see, and it's going to help you push through those times. It's going to be another mechanism, another tool that you can use to sustain, to get through the dark periods. You can't go into a dark period and stumble around trying to look for the light switch. You've got to have your plan in place already. That plan can include daily word count to help push you through. You're in the dark. You don't want to do this. Oh, God, yeah, but I haven't written today. You sit down in front of that keyboard to punch out 100 words, and the next thing you know, 900 words later, you're flying along because you caught momentum. You caught that wind. It forces you to do this. So how can you hit your word counts? How can you increase your word count goal? Say you need to catch up, or you're just ambitious. Well, there's a couple things. First off, I'm part of a mastermind group, which is a result of the Horrible Writing Writer Support Group on Facebook. So if you're not there, get over there. Come meet us. But we've got this mastermind group, and in our recent meeting, our September meeting, there was a newer writer who is struggling to catch that momentum, and they were looking for tips. And essentially, what I told that writer and was backed up by another author in the mastermind group was just write. It's a first draft. Just freaking write. Now, those of you who are new listeners, you might not know this, but I belong to a local writers group where we critique each other's work. And in that group, I tell this often enough, so I'm not going to tell it again. But in a couple months, I'll release my 5th novel since July or June of 2018. Well, there are people in that group that are still working on the same thing they were working on when I first joined the group 2 years ago. The fact is that the reason they do is because they keep going back. They don't outline, so they don't have any idea where they're going. And don't get me wrong, if you're a true pantser, I was hardcore pantser once upon a time. I'm more of a hybrid. I'm not hardcore outliner at all, but they don't know where they're going. So when they work on new things, it screws up all the stuff that came before, right? So they haven't set that up. But then they expect perfection. Folks, it's a first draft. There is no such thing as perfection in a 20th draft, never mind a first draft. Just write the freaking book. Get that story done. I don't care. We laughed. AC Ward is an author in the mastermind group, and she shared a story about how an advanced or a beta reader of one of her books, her upcoming novels, laughed about inserted brackets in the story. Did you mean to leave those in there? And essentially what she did, I think the example that was used was that the character was going to poke them with open brackets, the sharp point of that weapon, close bracket. She didn't know what the name of the weapon was right now in writing, and it didn't matter. Just keep writing. Set up those brackets anytime you don't know a color, a name, a weapon, a location, the way a door looks, whatever it is, and just keep writing. Another way you can do it is by dictation. Paul, I can't do dictation. My brain doesn't work that way. Again, it's a learned behavior. It's all about learning. Tim Niederreiter is another author. He's a sci-fi fantasy author in the Horrible Writing group. Come over and meet him. Him and I have had personal conversations for a long time. I know Tim won't mind me sharing this, but he was adamant that he loved my word count, how I was able to put so much out, but he couldn't figure out how I did it so quickly. And I told him dictation. And he said, oh no, I can't do it. Well, fast forward to August, September of 2019, and Tim is producing. He was already prolific, but he's over the top now. And it's because of dictation. He can get 8,000 word days in through dictation. You can dictate in your office. You can dictate on your phone and transcribe it later. You can dictate in your car, on the way to the job, on the bus, while you're commuting, whatever you're going to do. But people who want this can do it, and you learn how to do it. You slow your speech down. So you hear my normal gait now. But when I'm dictating, I don't do this. I'm from the Northeast originally, and we talk fast. But when I'm dictating, I have to enunciate a little more clearly, but it's not even this extreme. I can usually talk like this, and my dictation software will easily pick up what I'm saying, with few exceptions like him and them. It loves to intersperse those. But dictation will do it. And then again, this daily behavior. So there's 3 tip tools and tactics for those of you who've never heard them before. Dictation, daily writing, and just writing that damn first draft.
Transcription by Renzi Lee over at Renzi Lee Freelancing. For fast turnaround times on content writing, transcription, and editing services, email Renzi at renzileefreelancing@gmail.com.
So it's all about mindset and those behaviors. What are you doing to hit your goals? What are your goals? If you've enjoyed this, make sure that you do come over to the Horrible Writing Writer Support Group on Facebook, or follow me over on Twitter at Paul Sading, at Writing Horrible. Go to the website, paulsading.com. Click the contact tab if you have any questions. Also, if you've enjoyed this, subscribe, especially for those of you who are new. If you're a long-time subscriber, why don't you give it a rating and review? You know I always need those. Now, for the big stuff, I want to talk about For the Words. This is a really cool concept. And those of you who are long-time listeners, I want you to also pay attention to this as well, because this could be something neat for you. I talk all the time about tips, tools, and tactics to help you succeed. This could be that trick to get you into that behavior pattern that will match up with your writing goals. So, For the Words is an online writing platform that takes your writing into a game world. You use quests, monster battles to help you increase your word count, all while leveling up your character. Throughout October, you can unlock hidden gems using special codes found in some of your writing resources, like Horrible Writing Podcast. If you haven't tried For the Words before, up until now, you've never heard of it? Well, now you have, and now you can use it, and you can use my code to unlock a surprise and a free month of playtime. Now, when you look for the Words, it's the number 4, the words, forthewords.com. And for all of you who are partaking in this month's fun, you've got a code word, and that code word is listen. How awesome, right? I want to thank all the fine folks over at For the Words for reaching out and wanting to have me be part of this cool adventure. As a fantasy geek myself, I kind of love this idea. So definitely check out For the Words. Kelly, thank you very much for reaching out. You all have been absolute class. All right, folks, that's about enough for this episode. I hope I've given you something to think about. I hope I've helped you figure out how you can actually kick that word count goal over into gear into what you want it to be so you can reach your word count goals and, more importantly, your writing goals. Until episode 110, keep being epic. This has been Horrible Writing, and hopefully after this episode, you suck less than you did at the beginning. I am Paul Sading, your host extraordinaire. You can find me over on the Twitterverse at Writing Horrible and over at paulsading.com/horrible-writing. Until next time, suck less.